What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and I'm gonna lead things off by saying I frickin' called it. However, I also want to point out how it was so frickin' obvious I can't really be proud of having called it, because it was super obvious. Now, what the hell am I talking about? Elspeth is back, baby. In March of the Machine, we have Archangel Elspeth, which I gotta say, the name is incredible. And the art for this card is beautiful. So it may be, okay, how was it obvious that Elspeth was coming back? Last time we saw her, she grabbed a nuke in her arms, well, a Silex, but like the equivalent in Magic of a nuke in her arms and blasted herself into oblivion. So how is it possible she survived? Honestly, as of this recording, I haven't gotten all the way caught up on the story yet, so I don't know how they hand-wavy excused that, because it doesn't make any freaking sense. But it doesn't matter. She disappeared. She got off screen. If you're a character in a piece of fiction, especially a piece of fantasy fiction or comic book fiction, and you're in a horrible life-threatening situation, you need to do one thing: get off screen, whatever you do. And she did. So as a result, she's here, she's back. So in any event, does it make any sense? Not really. Does it really matter? Also not really. She's here. So Archangel Elspeth, she's back. She's a full-on angel, like not messing around. So apparently, like, her angel spark ignited now. She's double sparked. I don't know. I have no clue how. We'll get to it and I'll realize how silly I sound at this point, but whatever. The card's dope. It's a legendary planeswalker, Elspeth. 4 starting loyalty. 2 white. +1. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. -2. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types and gains flying. -6. Return all non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If you needed to create, okay, if you've been playing in Explorer, or Historic to some degree, but primarily Explorer, on the ladder in Arena for the last, like, I don't know, year, there's a good chance you've probably seen Collected Company Angels. If I needed to make Collected Company Angels as a planeswalker, it would look almost exactly like this. Like, instead of a soldier, it would be a cleric or something, but like, this is it, like, straight up. +1, create a soldier is relevant and strong. That -6, being able to return all the 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield is a big freaking deal. If your opponent successfully wipes you, too bad, I don't care. Like, that's, you know, it's incredible. And starting loyalty of 4 with a +1, where the ultimate is at 6, that's easy to get to. So if you have a situation where you have Resplendent Angels and Bishops of Wings and Rice's Valkyrie in your graveyard, being able to -6, that's incredible. On top of that, there's a ton of combo potential with, like, self-mill strategies. Like, honestly, I have an Abzan deck that leverages cards like Sun Titan and Luris to get advantage out of my graveyard. You know, Sarah Paragon style effects. Actually, Paragon might be in there now that I think about it. It's a commander deck. I got a lot of, and I tweak it constantly. But in any event, this, like, honestly, if I get my hands on a copy, it's going in that deck immediately, because that ultimate is great. And any planeswalker that can generate a token on a plus is really freaking good. Don't underestimate that. Being able to protect, people talk about how important it is that a planeswalker protect itself. And what that generally means is mitigate attacks in one way or another. Creating tokens is one good way to do that. Now, if a planeswalker has to downtick to create a token, you are taking the equivalent of damage to prevent future damage, which sometimes is worth the exchange rate. You know, like a -2 to prevent a 7, 7 power creature coming in, usually worth it if it doesn't have trample anyway. So that's okay. But in a situation where the planeswalker will literally gain loyalty, like buff up and produce the blocker, that's cash money in the bank. That's so freaking good. And on top of that, the creature has lifelink, which is like an incredibly busted mechanic, if I may say. So one of the ways that you could run this, if you're going into a more aggressive strategy, drop Elspeth. If you have a creature on board, immediately buff it. Just turn it into a flying angel. If you've got a 3/3 or a 4/4, 5/5, however big we're talking, that's on the ground and getting stymied by one of your opponent's blockers, you can just drop Elspeth, lift it off, and start smashing, and all of a sudden, like, it puts your opponent in this really tough position. And then, if they have a counterattack, they're probably not going to go at your face, they're probably going to go at Elspeth. That -2 alone can be the difference between, well, it can be the difference of you getting blown out and winning the race. Like that, and that's huge. Like don't underestimate that. So if you're in a defensive position, +1, create a soldier with lifelink, and all of a sudden you have a chump blocker that's even going to gain you a life on the way out in many cases. Or you down tick and you get aggressive by giving one of your creatures +2/+2 and evasion. That seems really good. So honestly, I think this card is just solid. Like, I don't think you fit it into every single deck. Like, a lot of aggressive decks just don't want 4-drops in general, so be aware of that. But even then, some of those might be able to take advantage of it as like a 1 or 2 or maybe as a sideboard card if you're going up against a more controlling deck where the likelihood of getting wiped is very high. Because picture this, you establish a board that your opponent has to answer. Maybe you have some Righteous Valkyries and whatever going on, and you're smashing face, you're really wrecking shop. They hit turn 4. Okay, bam, tap out, Supreme Verdict, board is wiped. Whoo, sit back, relax, enjoy. Well, guess what? Your control opponent is now tapped out. You go to your turn, drop Archangel Elspeth, uptick, you got a soldier online, and all of a sudden, your opponent has 2 turns before that entire board that they just got rid of is coming back. That's awesome. And now they have to deal with this planeswalker that they were unable to counter on the way down because they had tapped out for the wipe. So as a sideboard tech against control, this might be really good. So just a thought, you know, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a very specific scenario, but as somebody who runs a lot of, you know, I play a fair amount of aggro myself, and I understand that scenario of just like, all right, I've got you dead in 2 turns. Like, and maybe if I get a really good top deck, and maybe I got you next turn, and then they hit the board wipe. It's like, or I'm just out of gas and I'm sitting and I'm off the will of my top decks. And so having some kind of way to easily and quickly rebuild is kind of a big deal. And Elspeth does that. I like that a lot. And flavorfully, the idea of a planeswalker who is always trying to help and restore the worlds around them, that's kind of great. Like, I don't know. Like, Elspeth is a champion of the people, totally, and that comes through here. The one thing that I don't see on this card that I would like to, but honestly, it would probably be way too busted. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, playtesting tried it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the design team tinkered with it. Some kind of text on here that says Elspeth cannot be attacked except by creatures with flying. Or reach, even give them reach, but like, she has wings. She's clearly flying, you know, so making it so that her card mechanically has flying would be pretty incredible. Like if ground forces just couldn't touch her, that would be so cool. And actually giving, now that I think about it, giving a benefit to reach on attacks could be fun. You know, so all of a sudden your reach creatures could be offensive because they could actually hit Elspeth, where your other creatures couldn't. So that could be interesting. But they didn't do that, obviously. But I think that would have been fun. I would have liked to have seen that. Honestly, though, at that point, though, White in Standard having 2 planeswalkers whose passives defend themselves would be really bad. The other one that I'm referring to is the Eternal Wanderer, who has a passive that says that she cannot be attacked by more than 1 creature in any given combat. So if your opponent is declaring attackers, they can only choose 1 creature to declare attacking against the Eternal Wanderer. So if Mono White had access to that and a planeswalker that couldn't be hit except by flyers, that'd be rough. Even if in that situation all Elspeth was doing was just dropping out soldiers and buffing them, that would be enough. So in any event, I think this card is great. I really like it. As far as mythics go from March of the Machine, she's gonna be really good. Like, just bottom line, she's gonna be really freaking good. I dig it. So thank you, Wizards, for letting us know about this. And they did spoil this actually on Twitter at the same, I believe the exact same day as the story it was released, in where Elspeth did return, which is kind of cool. So that was fun. I haven't caught up with that story yet. I plan to read that if I can stay conscious after recording this. But as you may have noticed, for those of you watching on the YouTube, my lighting is a little off. That happens when I'm recording late at night. My room gets a little bit of natural light, and apparently my settings are dialed in to take advantage of that. So when I don't have it, I'm a little more orange than I would like. I suppose this shirt choice didn't help. Anyway, I'm rambling. Archangel Elspeth rules. I love this card. It's cool to see white planeswalkers not getting completely wrecked right now, or at least a triumphant moment for white planeswalkers is pretty great, because with Gideon dying and then Ajani getting completed and then Elspeth getting blasted in the last set, it was looking rough. Meanwhile, Basri's over here like, what up, guys? I'm just chilling. We're doing fine. Him and Teo are just like, what's up? And like, shut up, Teo. Nobody. Anyway, hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm gonna turn this microphone off before I say anything truly embarrassing. I hope you have a phenomenal morning, night, weekend, whatever time it is that you tuned in. Know that I appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next one.